So there it is, the nickel right there. All right, Rocky Mountain Prospector Ryan here. I'm in my own backyard this time. You guys will see me in my yard ever digging because my yard's not an old yard. Wanted to show a couple of different digging tools that I usually use when I'm out metal detecting. I get a lot of questions when I'm out. What do you use, first of all? And second of all, how do you dig your plugs so fast, and how do you not kill the yards that you're digging in? So tonight I'm going to show you exactly how I dig the plugs, and I'm also going to do a 7-day elapsed time. I'm going to come out every day and show you what the plugs look like after I've dug them for 7 days and show you which ones work and which ones don't. Doing this in my own yard just to show you that I have faith in the plugs I dig, and you can have faith digging these same types of plugs in any yard you guys get permission to. Alright, my two tools of choice. First, and my go-to always, is my Predator tool. It's a small digger. If you look at it compared to my Léger, the actual size of the spade is, well, probably 2 times as big, but no longer. You're able to cut one cut instead of 2 like you would with the Léger. But the good thing about it is you've got the long handle, the T handle, so you can actually stand up and cut from a standing position instead of being on the ground. I see this as being a huge advantage. You don't have to stand up and sit down as much. It's going to save your legs over time. So great tools. These are the tools I use in the field every day. Alright, I'm going to show you how I dig a normal plug. When you guys are watching these videos, you see a lot of plugs come up pretty fast. You notice I have my spade at a 90-degree angle, so it goes in straight. You see how long this is? It's probably 7 inches long. I always go a full spade deep. If you do a full spade deep, you move around the sides and you cut at least 4 inches around in this hole. You're going to keep the roots intact, and when you pull your plug's going to come up very nice. You see how that plug comes up? It has just barely the ends of any roots coming out the bottom. If you look down inside the plug is solid. All the way around the edges, it's straight. This is my yard. I have 100% faith this plug is going to reintegrate very fast, and you're not going to see any of the browning around the edges. It's not going to die. So I have a lot of people ask me, when you dig a plug, how do you go about getting the plug separated inside so you can actually find the coin that's inside the plug? What I'm going to do, I'm going to show you, after digging a plug, what you actually do to make sure you don't damage the roots while you're trying to get your target out. Okay, as you see, I have the plug dug now. There is a target inside of there. 2 things you're going to need. Use a pinpointer. I also use, one thing I carry in there, just an old toothbrush. It helps you clean some of your stuff off after you find it. But also the blunt end is good for trying to get inside of plugs like this without scratching the instrument with something metal. So what I'll do, first turn this on. I usually do a once around the outside until I find out where in the plug is my target. Once I find out where my target is, then I'll work in with my, trying to keep the plug intact as much as I can, work in until I find the actual target itself. So once again, use your pinpointer. I go around the outside of the entire plug first. Circular motions around until you find something, or find which side it's on. If you can't, then that's when you start to dissect a little bit with your blunt instrument, and you start searching inside the plug. Now this one fell apart, but the good thing is this was so deep there are no roots inside of that. The roots are all pretty shallow right here, so I would have been able to find the target in that. Try to keep the plug intact as much as possible. If you notice, this is still a really solid plug. You can see the very bottoms of some of the roots coming through here, but I haven't really disturbed that at all. This plug's going to reintroduce itself into the grass real easy. So Okay, so here's the plug I just pulled. Notice the nice round edges on it. Roll that plug back in the ground. Make sure that all the edges are exactly even, and then you stomp the edges down all the way around so that it's as smooth as it was when you pulled it. You got to make sure it's compact, because if it's not compact, the water's not going to transfer through. And I usually pack around the edges of where the plug was, not just on the plug itself. But if you look at that, even up close, you can't tell there was a plug anywhere in this area. And after a week, I'm going to show you, you won't be able to tell after a week there even was a plug there. Next, I'm going to show you how I started digging plugs, and it was only with a small digger like this. I didn't know any better, didn't know how to dig plugs properly. I think I probably killed some grass. If you dig a plug too shallow, you're going to uproot the roots, you're going to cut them off, and you're going to damage them, and they're not going to be able to handle trying to reintegrate, and the top layer is actually going to die off. So this is how I used to dig plugs. I didn't want to go too deep. I would only go down maybe a halfway down the shovel, and I would try to dig just the little hole where I thought the actual coin was, and I would take it completely out of the hole. So you notice I've taken it completely out. I've damaged the roots now. The roots are never going to be able to come back from that because I've taken them basically all the way out of the ground. Some of these roots are intact, but there is going to be browning around here. And if I show you down inside the hole, it's a very shallow hole. That may be an inch, inch and a half. This root ball doesn't have a very good opportunity of regrowing. My yard is pretty healthy, so it may retake, but you are going to see that this one's going to yellow a lot more than this big plug that I pulled over here. Alright, the last plug I'm going to show you today is probably the most common type. I think people get into hard soils and they don't want to dig down to the depth they actually should be digging down to. It gets hard, you get lazy, you get tired. It's sometimes hard to dig down into the harder soils, especially the clay soils, especially in summertime. And summertime is the time you need to dig the deepest plugs, because those are the times where the soil's not going to get as much water. The heat's going to kill the plug a lot faster. This is a way we can probably help get a better image for metal detecting, especially if you're in yards you're getting permission for. Don't dig these types of plugs. These are the ones that are going to have the highest chance of dying out. Dig it with a big digger. So with my digger, I'm only going to go down an inch on all the sides. Now again, take into account this is my own yard that I'm digging up here. This isn't somebody else's yard. This isn't a permission from an 1800s home. This is my own yard, and I'm going to show you how not to dig a plug, because you know that this plug is not going to do well over time, and it's going to take the owner some rehab time to get his lawn back and up to snuff. As you notice, this plug very, very thin. So there's not much from the grass to the bottom, maybe an inch, and it's flimsy. You've killed all the roots. You can see all these roots hanging out the bottom here. That means you haven't gone down past where the roots have already dug in and got all their nutrients from. You've exposed it all. It is mid of summer right now, so during the days it's getting up to 95, 100 degrees out here. Probably not going to save this plug. This is going to take me some rehab time in my own yard to get this plug back and healthy again. Good thing is we've got this plug here that's a bad one. Right next to it we have a very small plug that I pulled, and we've got the very large plug right here. We're going to see which one does better over time. Let me put this plug back in so you can see me putting it back in the ground. Still going to stomp it. The stomped in plug, even though it's really shallow, doesn't look too bad. Still pretty uniform. It's because the grass was healthy before the fact. We're going to see how this does long term though. Here's a small plug. You can barely tell where that one was. You can see kind of the outlines of it because it is a small plug, and you see some of the remnants of the dirt. Can't really see this one, but this is the very large plug. So we're going to see how all three of those do over time. I'm going to show those every day for a week, and we'll see what happens at the end of the week and see how they all look. And again, to kind of lay down the tools, those are the two tools I use all the time. Great tools. Each have their purpose. Day one. Here's all the plugs. Here you can see the edges of that plug are not doing the greatest. This is the one that was really thin. This is the small little plug right here. That's doing all right. Didn't really die off that bad. Here's the deep plug. Edges are doing well. Really well. So like I thought, you see these are starting to die off a bit on the sides already. So that one's definitely the easiest one to see out of all three. If you look at those. So there we go, first day. Okay, day number 2. This is the thin plug. As you can see, the side is still around almost an inch. Stuff over here on this side and a bunch over here. Really small plug. It's probably doing the worst. Looks like that's on the side of that. There's some green. My grass is healthy, so it helps. And that one, that's the deep one. Really can tell it's there. Day 3. As you can see, I guess my lawn's too healthy. They all did pretty well. The one that did the worst so far is the small plug. If you notice, a lot of the inside stuff kind of, you can see down there, all the inside stuff starting to die out a little bit. It is a small plug, so it's not as noticeable, but health of a lawn makes a big difference. Day 4. Healthy lawn, making things really easy for me. The one that did the worst was this small little plug. As you can see, one's had the hardest time. Okay, so here's the final. You can see they all basically took. So the health of the lawn has a lot to do with it. The very smallest one was the one that didn't do the best, but it's so small, it'll fill in really easy. I want to say thanks a lot for watching. Hopefully this is helpful for some people. This is probably going to be a good introduction to digging plugs. There are some other techniques that are a little more advanced, but it's a good introduction. Thanks for watching.